big, too empty, and just too cold too many months of the year. That requires two things of everyone who comes to this country. First of all, we need to work hard. There's no Canadian who's ever been afraid of hard work. And we've demonstrated generation after generation that we're willing to work hard to create our success and to offer opportunities to our kids that we never had ourselves. That's been the story of Canada. But we also know that in this big empty space, nobody can go it alone. And it's part of our nature to be there for our neighbors, to lean on each other. And that is what has allowed us to figure out the one thing that every country around the world is trying to figure out now. How to be strong, not in spite of our differences, but because of them. Ces différentes perspectives, ces différents backgrounds, les différentes langues, les différentes religions, les différentes cultures, les différentes origines ethniques, les différents endroits géographiques à travers ce pays ne sont pas ce qui nous définissent. We are not defined by any surface identities as Canadians, and that leads to regular, moments of collective national angst where we go, oh, there is no Canadian identity. What's a typical Canadian? We're so different from coast to coast to coast. But the reality is there is a shared Canadian identity. It's just not based on surface attributes. It's based on values. Shared values of openness, compassion, willingness to work hard, a desire to be there for each other in times of trouble, a desire for equality, a desire for justice, a desire to create opportunities for all. These are the things that define us. And we have been successful in creating a country that has looked beyond those differences and generated tremendous success from one generation to the next throughout our story. So why is an unscrupulous bunch of politicians in Ottawa suddenly now able to succeed so well with the politics of division, the politics of negativity, of disengagement, of spin, of secrecy, of lack of accountability and non-transparency? Why are they suddenly succeeding to campaign and win on the very worst, the very lowest common denominators among us? Canadians haven't changed. We're still broad-minded, open-hearted, desirous of being ambitious and creating success and willingness to work hard for it. We're still very much that way. It's just that something has changed over the past 30 years. And it's happened incrementally and subtly. But it's very real, nonetheless. Over the past 30 years, even though the Canadian economy has grown by more than 100%, it's more than doubled in size, median family incomes, average middle-class incomes, have increased by only 13% in real terms. So while incomes are stagnating, costs are rising, and therefore personal and household debts are exploding to the level that we all feel today. And underlying all that, and what's being caused by all that, is an uncertainty shared by Canadians that I've heard right across the country. It's sometimes difficult for us to admit that for the first time, perhaps in the history of this country, we are now unsure that the next generation is actually going to have greater opportunities than were given to us by the previous generation. And that's a breakdown in the very premise, the very promise at the heart of this country. Le pays est prospère en tant qu'économie quand la grande majorité des Canadiens qui constituent la classe moyenne, qui travaillent fort pour réussir, qui travaillent au jour le jour, qui bâtissent une réussite pour eux, pour leur famille, pour leur communauté, mais surtout qui offrent des opportunités à leurs enfants. C'est ça qui définit une économie forte. You can talk about how you'd like to define an economy, whether it's GDP or growth rates or trade balance or numbers. For me, it's about Canadians having the best jobs possible. And the largest number of Canadians able to contribute, to build, to be part of their future, and to share in the prosperity of this country. But we're not there anymore. And that's not just causing us challenges on the economic level, because when you look at the whole spectrum, you know, for all the help and the support we give as a society, and it's dwindled over the past years to the most vulnerable among us, we need to have a strong tax base in the middle class to be able to contribute, to create those services, to offer opportunities. But mostly, we need to be able to offer a path to meaningful employment and success for the most vulnerable, so that they can move beyond help and actually be able to contribute and shape their own future. That's what people want. They want to be relevant. They want to be meaningful. They want to contribute. And if there are no jobs, if families in the middle class are beginning to slip down into the realms of the working poor, if record numbers of Canadians are now stuck going to food banks to top off the groceries at the end of the month, well, something's broken down. And on the other side, our small businesses, our industries, our big businesses need a confident, robust middle class to provide them markets and revenue. But that's just the economic side of things. The real strength of this country is that the fact that everyone has access and has had access to success, to paths to success, means that we have become a country that is willing and more willing, and we've demonstrated it time and time again throughout the 20th century, to look beyond our differences, be they geographic or in terms of background, and step up. Step up. Here at home and overseas. Whether it be in the trenches of World War I or in the beaches of World War II. We talked about my grandfather, Jimmy Sinclair, who was a member of Parliament from 1940 onwards. For those first 4 years, he actually didn't spend much time in Parliament because he was one of the only members of Parliament around the world who was actually serving in active duty during World War II as a flight lieutenant for the RCAF in Algeria and Sicily. So Canadians throughout history have always been willing to step up, whether it was in big conflicts that were far away but touched our core values and our identities, whether it was as a voice of balance during the Cold War, or a voice for the development of peace, prosperity in the most vulnerable areas, to the creation of the UN peacekeepers. Canada has consistently stepped up. And over the past few years, we have a government that has forgotten that about Canadians. That is offering us less. And worse, convincing us that somehow we should be accepting less. Not just of them, but of ourselves. Ce pays est trop important pour ne pas être présent dans les grands enjeux de notre ère. Pour ne pas être en train de façonner des solutions, que ce soit au niveau de l'énergie, au niveau de l'économie, au niveau de la justice sociale, au niveau de la pauvreté, au niveau des droits humains. Nous avons des choses à dire, mais nous sommes en train de nous faire convaincre qu'on est moins, qu'on mérite moins. And the politics, as we see them today, are pitting region against region, east against west, left against right, urban against rural, new Canadians against people who have been here for generations, French against English. It's very efficient. very effective in the short term to play up wedge issues and divisive politics. Mr. Harper's majority is proof of how powerful politics of negativity and division can be. However, what he's also proof of is once you've gotten elected that way, you can't actually do a particularly good job of governing as broad and difficult a country. So what we need to do now, as Canadians, is to begin to demand more, to begin to expect more from our leaders and from our representatives, the people we send to Ottawa to represent us, and instead seem to do a very good job of representing the Prime Minister back here in our communities. We deserve better than that. We need to expect better from our neighbors and our communities in how we pull together to address issues big and small. But mostly, we have to start expecting and demanding more of ourselves as individuals and as citizens. Because being a citizen is more than just voting every now and then. It's more than paying your taxes and obeying the law. Being a citizen means understanding that you are part of a society and you have a role to shape the path of that society with your choices every day. What you choose to do is a job, about how you invest yourself in your free time, how you raise your family, how you get from A to B, what you choose to buy. All these decisions that make up our daily lives shape the world that we are part of. And we are all luckier than 99.5% of every single person on this planet just because we live in this extraordinary country. But I've learned a few things about being unbelievably, incredibly lucky in my life, because I have been. And what I've known is, from having had extraordinary parents who inspired me from the day I was born on to today, from having had opportunities to go to great schools, to travel the world, to be able to have the luxury of choosing to do the jobs that I wanted to do, which was becoming a high school teacher, running Katimavik, Canada's National Youth Service Program, being an activist and an advocate all my life for different causes, whether it be environment or youth or engaged, responsible citizenship. I know that if we're lucky as Canadians, we have to work to be worthy of that luck and of the tools that we've been given to create solutions. And that's what this leadership campaign is actually all about. This is not about the Liberals deciding, okay, we're going to put forward a great platform and Canadians will come running back to the Liberal Party. We tried that. We tried that over the past few elections. I'm proud of the platforms we ran on. But that's not what it took. Because the level of cynicism the Canadians have these days means that before we can sell and convince Canadians that this particular platform, with its long-term answers and its bold solutions and its vision for the future, is the right one for Canadians, we actually have to remind Canadians that politics should be about a long-term vision, a platform, a goal for the future that we build together. Because we're not in that mode anymore. We're down to voting against. We sit on the right, we vote against the left. We sit on the left, we vote against the right. We accept the least worst of the options out there, rather than saying, well, how can we build? It's easier to break than to pull together. But that's what we have to do. And the Liberal Party has decided to do this in two different ways, well, many different ways, but two particular ways that have never been tried before. First of all, we're running on the one-member, one-vote principle, similar to the NDP leadership of last year, except with one crucial difference, meaning in this particular leadership, every single riding across the country has the same weight in picking the leader. So whether there are 10,000 members and supporters in a downtown Toronto riding, or just 300 in Wetaskiwin, Alberta, and even 300 in rural Alberta is pretty impressive. They each have the same amount of weight in making their voice heard to shape the future of the Liberal Party. Because we can no longer be a party that is stuck in its ways. I mean, we went from 170 seats in the year 2000 election, to 135 in the election after that, to 100 in the election after that, to 77 in the election after that, to 34 in the election after that. That's a straight line, and it ends up at 1 seat, because I'm not losing Papineau. But that's not good enough. We have to turn outwards once again. Canadians turned away from us. Not because Canadians started to become more polarized or less balanced in their approach, but because it's always easier to vote against. And the Liberal Party, well, the Liberal Party did a very good job over the past years of turning inwards and focusing on itself, and taking for granted communities that have always supported it, disengaging with the future of the country because we were so focused on the future of the Liberal Party. Well, I dare say we've learned our lesson. And one of the big lessons is the Liberal leadership is too important to entrust to Liberals. Instead of Liberals picking who's going to be the leader of the next leader of the Liberal Party for Canadians, we're going to ask Canadians to pick who's going to be the next leader of the Liberal Party for Liberals. Time in the federal leadership, we've created a supporter class. Anyone across the country who's not an active member of another political party, and there are only about a couple 100,000 people of the entire country who are that, so it doesn't really eliminate many people. Anyone across the country who could conceivably imagine, under certain circumstances, maybe sometime in the future, they might vote for the Liberal Party, you know, that's good enough for us. Help us pick the next leader of the Liberal Party. Sign up for free. We have sign-up sheets in the back. My website is justin.ca. Yes, I'm the Justin in Canada. You can sign up and register for free, and we will give you the right to vote come in. Because this has to be about us as a party demonstrating that we trust Canadians. Because it's that trust that has been broken down. La première journée à l'école, au collège Jean de Brébeuf, on avait un vieux père jésuite qui m'a expliqué comment ça fonctionnait au niveau de respect. Il nous disait, si vous les étudiants, vous nous respectez, vos professeurs, nous allons commencer à vous respecter. And it wasn't until I became a teacher that I realized that he had it completely backwards. We as teachers need to model respect to our students, and therefore they begin to respect us. Well, it's the same thing for politicians. If we demonstrate first that we are ready to trust Canadians, then maybe we will be able to earn Canadians' trust in return. That's the missing element of politics right now. People are disengaged. People don't believe that they have a voice or they have any meaning in politics. And that's what I'm trying to turn around. So from coast to coast to coast, as I've been able to travel to places, like I said, Ponoka, in Wetaskiwin riding, in rural Alberta, we drew out about 250 people to a meeting just like this. And I know what you're saying, oh, rural Alberta, they love Trudeau's. They just came out for the celebrity factor. came out because people right across the country know that we deserve better. Know that we need to once again be part of our political processes. We need to make our voices heard. We need to shape the decisions that this country is making with our input, with our expectations. We need to refuse the easy politics of sound bites and spin and attack. Refuse to accept simple answers to complex questions, or band-aids that you stick over a solution that will hold just until the next election cycle so you can get re-elected. We need to be once again bold, confident, extraordinary people that we all are. Because we are more involved and engaged at our community level, in big individual causes, single issue causes around the world. We've just disengaged from politics. But of all the different ways of making a difference in the world, politics can be extraordinarily powerful. But if and only if we all get engaged. That's why I'm so pleased to see you all here today. That's why I'm so humbled by the support I've had across the country. Et c'est pour ça que je vous remercie du fond de mon cœur de m'aider et de vous joindre à nous pour rebâtir un pays digne de nos rêves. Merci beaucoup.